Ready? Heyo, welcome back everybody to the Fast Break with Taylor and Jake. My name is Taylor Harper, and on my left, not as always, it is Jake, but he's now a man. Guys, I've told you guys to spam our comment section before, but I really need you guys to spam our comment section today and congratulate Jacob Merritt. He just recently got engaged this past week. So you know what? Congratulations, Jake. That's freaking awesome.
Thanks, Taylor.
So again, if you have his number, just blow up his phone, blow up the comment section, just tell him congratulations, because that's super cool. So congratulations, Jake, on
Thank you.
Newly engaged man. He's taking his first step into manhood. Let's get right in. Last week's episode obviously did not upload because YouTube is, again, I don't know. So we're trying actually different. We're recording. Usually we record on our camera and then post to YouTube. We're actually filming directly from YouTube. We're going to see if this works or not. I am actually not sure if it will work, but
I'm sure it will.
I
don't know why it wouldn't.
Yeah. So, get right in there. So there's a few things we talked about last week that you guys are not going to hear, but that's all right. We're going to dive in to someone we did talk about last week, and I still think deserves some more recognition. That's LaMelo Ball. I don't know if this is still up to date because he didn't play because their game was postponed and Anthony Edwards did. The last time I checked, LaMelo Ball is first in points, rebounds, assists, and steals for rookies. I mean,
That's really impressive.
I mean, if he's not he is the front runner for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm glad.
For sure, he is. There have been some other I think there's been some other decent rookies.
Right.
I know James Wiseman is getting plenty of playing time with the Warriors, and he seems to be playing pretty well. Anthony Edwards, like we've said, I'm surprised he's not leading in points because he's...
Right.
Maybe, did he miss any games or anything? Or?
No, but he's coming off the bench.
That's surprising.
Who has the number 1 overall draft pick come from the bench?
Oh, the number 3 overall draft pick's coming off the bench too.
Right.
So anyways, it's kind of weird. But yeah.
I'm glad he's doing this well because obviously Lonzo did not do this very well. And to me, I think Lonzo obviously Lonzo went to college and he was actually like a pretty decent college player. Pretty hyped.
I wonder why has LaMelo been so much better than Lonzo? Why do you think?
I think because he has played professionally. I think he's taken a route I would never want anyone to take. I'm the traditional high school, college, boom, NBA. And obviously I think going to the G League first is actually a really good option too. We talked about that.
Probably better than college.
Right. G League route's always a great way. But LaMelo's bounced around, not necessarily from state to state, but from country to country. I mean, and you don't really hear about that a lot. But he did play in Australia, which is a professional league. Lithuania was a professional league.
Yeah, well, they weren't any good. Australia, I think, is pretty.
Australia,
good.
Yeah, right.
Probably the best competition he's played.
Right.
And he played well there. So
I think that's huge.
I think he's just more confident than Lonzo. I don't know. I think Lonzo I really think his career got off the rails right from the get-go. Being in LA, there were so many distractions, there was so much expectation that it was impossible for this kid to live up to. Not also that, but I mean, him being the first, his dad was right there over his shoulder the whole time, especially being in LA, so he's always he's in, they're in that same area. He's on the coach's back. It's just
right.
I mean, honestly, had he gone to maybe New Orleans right from the start or maybe some other organization, he'd be having, I guess, a little bit more career success thus far. I think he's still pretty good. He actually had a pretty good year last year. I haven't heard too much this year. Right. But anyways, yeah, I think LaMelo, I don't know. I think he's probably just the naturally better of the two.
Yeah.
He passes really well. He's a little bit taller, I think, than Lonzo. I don't think his shooting is quite as good, is it? At least not right now.
That's like I said. That's the one thing I expected him to struggle with, and he's done really well with, is his shooting. But yeah, I would put Lonzo as a better legit shooter than LaMelo. He always has been. He actually shot, I think, 40% in college.
I think it was 41%.
So I mean, Lonzo's obviously been a better 3-point shooter. But like we talked about last week, too, LaMelo Ball became the youngest player to ever have a triple-double in NBA history. And what blows my mind is he was 1 assist away from the game before. Right. So he almost had back-to-back triple-doubles as the youngest player in NBA history. So LaMelo Ball's future, as much as you hate LeVar, I love LeVar, but LaMelo Ball can ball. I mean, let's be honest, the whole family is a very gifted ball-playing family.
They just have their quirks a little bit.
Right.
They're like the Kardashians. I wouldn't say that they're the Kardashians, but they're an interesting family. I think now that they're all kind of in the NBA and doing their own thing, I think the whole like family dynamic is not over, but it's going to be a lot less of a thing, I guess. I mean, if you watch the Ball in the Family Facebook series, well, I guess they've kept it going while LaMelo's pretty much been gone. He just wasn't in it at all last year. But I don't know. They're growing up. It's kind of funny. Like I remember LaMelo Ball, like kind of watching him play at like with Chino Hills, and then he goes to Lithuania. Then the whole JBA nonsense, and then going to Australia in high school. Like he's bounced around so much that it's been crazy. Like we've like everyone knew who Zion was, but he didn't quite get he didn't have cameras following him around since he was 15. Right. Like LaMelo was the first one I can think of to basically have like their story to the NBA documented in such like depth. Right. Like a lot of players now kind of get their own little backstory. Like Zion, even Steph, his dad was in the NBA, stuff like that, but no one's quite had it like LaMelo.
No, and I vividly remember when he scored that 92-point game in high school. A bunch of his shots were the cherry-picking shots. I'm like, this kid, like, as impressive it is to score 92 points, he really didn't get a lot of points from a skill asset. He kind of just didn't play defense, and as soon as his team got the ball, he was already on the other end. All you got to do is throw a full-court pass, boom, layup. So I wasn't really, 92 points is always impressive, but I'm like, I don't know if this kid's really going to go anywhere, because he used to shoot a lot in high school. Yeah, he did. Like, his primary position was, I'm just going to shoot, and I don't care what the head coach says. But now he's a full-blooded, playmaker. And that's why I love his game as much, as because he was willing to change his game into what better suits him, to be honest. Mm-hmm.
You know who I think we got to give a little bit more credit to for changing the game? LeBron James.
So?
Because I just don't think you used to see so many, like triple doubles specifically, but just like these playmakers who can
big men
score,
kind of.
Right, like tall, like non-traditional, like usually think of like Chris Paul as like the prototypical point guard. He's about 6'1", 6'2". It was just a ball handler, just like the John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas type point guard. But LeBron James and okay, maybe we need to give a little bit more credit to Magic, because I think LeBron's a lot like Magic. Right. But you've got.
There wasn't really anyone after Magic until LeBron, though. So then LeBron's kind of really carried it. Mm-hmm. Like you look at Ben Simmons, 6'8" point guard. Mm-hmm. Luka Doncic, he's a little bit taller, but
levels, all the time. Right. Lonzo Ball, also like an all-around kind of, just like is also LaMelo Ball. So you got the two Ball brothers. You got even Trae Young is like getting triple doubles. Like who would have thought a 6-foot point guard, 180-pound point guard, is getting like the triple doubles and putting up the numbers Trae Young does. So really, I actually think LeBron does need a little bit more credit for changing the game. Like a lot of people say, oh, LeBron's like 6'8", 260. No one's built like LeBron, so you can't imitate him. And that's true. It's easier to imitate Steph for the everyday person than LeBron. But I think LeBron's overall like skill set on the court can't be understated. Right.
Because at the end of the day, you guys know how I feel about LeBron James. But at the end of the day, LeBron James is the best basketball player on any court he steps on, whether we like it or not. And at his age, what is he, 36? 36. They just played a loss last night. But before that loss, they were 11-3. So he's consistently, like Giannis and the Bucks, they've lost, 5 games? Brooklyn, Durant, and obviously Harden just really came over. But Durant and Kyrie, they'd already lost 6 games. LeBron, 36 freaking years old, is only losing 3 games. And honestly, I haven't heard anything about LeBron James this year, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But he just wins.
I think it's because he realizes he's gotta kind of, you know, go about 75% during regular season so he can ramp it up in the playoffs.
Right.
Because at this age, with even for LeBron, like just a freak of nature and you know all the work that he does on his body to keep himself in good condition, you know, father time is undefeated, as Charles Barkley likes to say.
Right.
So he can't go 100%, and then I think he's really kind of gauged what he can do in the regular season, so he can still, because he knows he's making the playoffs.
Right.
The Lakers are making the playoffs, and you know they can beat about any team. I don't think they're too worried about seeding.
Yeah.
So I think LeBron is coasting a little bit more than I thought. I don't think he's going to be in any more MVP conversations, like seriously.
Right.
He's still going to be he's going to be LeBron, score 25 points and get 8 rebounds and 7 assists. But we're used to, 30 points and 9 rebounds and 9 assists.
Right.
But still, I mean, he's remarkable.
He is remarkable. We got to talk about something that was really remarkable.
Oh, sorry. The Nets were a team. The team they are now when we last posted.
No, that's what I was actually getting there too. So we got to talk about something that's remarkable in my case for the worse. And that was that James Harden finally got traded from Houston in a 4-team deal. And he is now with the Brooklyn Nets. And the rest of the trades are honestly unsubstantial to what James Harden really is. I think it was actually a terrible trade for every team. Except for Brooklyn.
I think the Cavaliers made out best.
Right. I mean,
they got Jared Allen and gave up Dante Exum. Did they give up anyone else? Any picks?
Maybe a pick, maybe. I can't remember. I don't care about Cleveland. But,
right. But they didn't, they're not going to be any worse than they otherwise would have been.
Right. However, Karis LeVert, Brooklyn traded him away. Boom, he's injured now. I'm like, Oladipo gets traded to Houston. Oh, I don't want to play for Houston. I'm like, come on, Victor.
He's already walked out?
Yeah, he says I want out. I'm like,
just give it a chance. Yeah, so Victor Oladipo goes to Houston. Houston gets 4 first-round picks, I think all from Brooklyn, and then 4 first-round swaps. Does that just mean if Brooklyn has a higher draft pick, they swap it or something?
I think so.
Unsubstantial. Houston did get Victor Oladipo, who was
and
good.
He balled out last night. He had 24 points.
Maybe he'll stay.
He balled out. I hope he does. I know he wanted to go to Miami, but
I don't want him.
I love Oladipo. But yeah, obviously
the Nets pretty much they got James Harden.
They got James. That's the point of the trade. They look scary, Jake. Another one of these random stupid statistics that sounds cool, but really, I guess, isn't, which is okay. James Harden, the very first player in NBA history with a new team on his new team's debut to have a 30-point triple-double, which I guess is cool. Yeah. I don't as much I think it's cool that LaMelo got as the youngest to have a triple-double, but triple-doubles are not impressive anymore. As sad as it is to say, Russell Westbrook, you ruined triple-doubles, buddy. You really ruined the meaning of what a triple-double is. They don't mean anything. I remember when Rondo, I think led the league one year and had 9 triple doubles, and that was
that was crazy.
And now it's Luka getting 20, Jokic getting 25. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what changed,
but they do look scary. Here, I said it last week. You guys didn't hear it, but Brooklyn's not going to the finals this year, and I say that if Kyrie's there, I think. I just think Kyrie's a loser! I cannot stand him.
I think you're right. I think their biggest threat is themselves. The fact that they're all 3 guys that have had controversy with just basically existing. Kevin Durant, not so much. More in the fact that he went to the team that, knocked him out when he was up 3-1. And go into a 73-9 team. That's where, by far, probably his most controversies come from. Also, Twitter burner accounts.
Right.
Just being just kind of a weird guy. But I don't think like team issues have ever been much of a thing. He did have some issues with Draymond in Golden State, but I don't think that's like a persistent problem.
Right.
James Harden, Chris Paul didn't stop wanting to play with him. Russell Westbrook wanted to not play with him. Dwight Howard didn't want to play with him. He's just like he just thinks he's the center of the universe. He's
the silent but deadly fart that no one likes to hit. He doesn't say anything on the court. But he causes drama with everyone, with all of his teammates, it sounds like. Dwight, like Jake said, Dwight didn't like him, Chris didn't like him, Russell didn't like him.
Well, it's this stuff like showing up late to the bubble because you just don't want to go with the team. It's showing up late to, practice, airplane rides, coming to training camp in horrendous shape. Just that kind of stuff that just kind of puts him on the outs with teammates. So maybe that changes with an attitude adjustment, but give it a couple weeks, he'll be grumpy again.
Right.
Kyrie is just weird. Kyrie's just a
so last week we talked about Kyrie, and we're gonna talk about it again, just because obviously you guys didn't hear about it, and I still think it's hilarious. Pretty much last week I said if Kyrie does another thing stupid, I'm just gonna let it all out and say my true feelings about Kyrie. But yeah, Kyrie's just.
He's still gone. He's still like having his personal vacation 3 weeks into the season. I don't know what it's about. I'm not going to judge because really, if it's personal reasons, who knows what that could mean. But the fact that it's Kyrie, if this was LeBron James, I'd be like, oh, I'm sure something's going on.
Jake, I think it's official. I don't like Kyrie more than I like LeBron James more than I like Kyrie. I didn't even
It took you long enough.
It took me long enough. I mean, we talked about last week. Maybe it was last. Did we talk about the game-winning shots that both Durant and Kyrie missed last week or the week before?
I think it was the week before.
Okay, so you guys heard that. That was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I'm at the point where if LeBron James and the Nets meet up in the finals, which technically is a realistic possibility, I'm going for LeBron. I don't want to go for Lakers because if they win, then they will actually have the most championships over my Celtics, which is obviously...
Are they tied at 17 now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, no Celtics fan wants to see. But I'm at the point where I just do not like Harden, and I do not like Kyrie. I don't mind Katie. But those guys, I just want to, just... Come on.
Here's the worst thing about it for me, okay? I am fine with players signing where they want to or requesting trades. But I think that's fine for me if there's somewhere that you think is going to be best for you. That's fine. But I hate that James Harden. It's the equivalent of a little kid throwing a tantrum in a grocery store until his mom says he's going to get him the candy bar.
Right. James Harden's a little kid.
And sometimes when you're a mom and your kids are going crazy, you got to give them a candy bar. So I'm not judging that. It's just the same idea that James Harden's acting like a little kid who's going to cry until he gets what he wants.
Right.
And the worst thing is he got what he wanted. I understand, I think it'd be absolutely hilarious if he got sent to Minnesota or what's another bad, what's like
Cleveland?
Detroit, Cleveland, these teams that, they're freaking cold, they're not your, destination choice of living. And they're not good teams. Now he would have just thrown a fit there until he got traded again. So I get why those teams were, because I'm sure Houston was like, you know what? Screw James Harden.
Right.
Let's send him where we want to send him.
Right, I would have.
But then the other teams are like, we can't do that because then he's going to be gone.
Right.
But it's like Kawhi, like just sitting out for a freaking year with the Spurs. Saying he wasn't healthy when I guess that he probably was pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So that's the last. I just don't want to see that going forward in the league. I don't want to see a bunch of players crying until they get what they want, like little kids in stores.
Right.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. I just think wherever you are, you just make the best of it. You show up, you do your work. The Rockets probably would have been more willing to grant James Harden a trade earlier had he shown up to training camp on time in shape and said, I'm done here. I think I've done what I can. I'm glad with my time, but I'm ready to go. They said, okay, well, we'll get a good trade package going. We'll get you out of here.
Right.
So I just hate that he got what he wanted.
Because if you said you've given this organization everything, like James Harden, I've given this organization all I can give. Well, to be honest, so did the organization. They got you some really dang good pieces.
James Harden has been catered to in Houston.
And to treat him like trash?
As much as anyone else has.
And
he wanted Dwight Howard. They got Dwight Howard. And then it didn't work out, so Dwight Howard's gone. He wanted Chris... I don't know if he wanted... They ended up getting Chris Paul. Chris Paul, who makes it work everywhere,
right,
was like, I'm out.
James Harden is the most unworkable with... I'm making that phrase. Most unworkable with player. From what I've seen, like...
From the outside looking in, yes. And Houston has... They were going to offer him $50 million.
$50 million a year, guys.
So the money, can't complain about that. The teammates can't complain about that. The coaching system of, I'm going to hold the ball for 20 seconds and either shoot or give it to a teammate with 1 second left on the clock or get to the free throw line. Can't complain about that. There's nothing like they could have done differently.
I liked this team that he was on this year. Christian Wood, they had a legit... Clint Capella's never been a legit center to me.
Dude, he was pretty good with James Harden.
He was, but he's not doing much in Atlanta right now.
Sure.
So, Christian Wood is having a breakout season. John Wall is looking really, really nice. DeMarcus Cousins is DeMarcus Cousins, so he's not doing much. But I didn't mind this team that he was put on this year, or not put on, but
they could have been.
They could have made the playoffs for sure. I don't know if they could have won, and I know that's what he wants. Who doesn't want to win? I understand his willingness to win, or wanting to win and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's like, oh man, he's like, in this point in my career, I gotta get a chip, and it's like, well, James, I don't know. I think you've had what you needed to get there.
Right.
I think your team missed 27 threes, and you didn't have a great game 6 and 7 to close out the Warriors when you had like the prime year in 2000. I think it was 18. Yeah, 2018. So I hate that he got what he wanted, but nuts. I mean, they're going to be good.
Well, let's talk about
that. At this
that.
point now, they've probably got my vote to go to or prediction to go to the finals.
Right.
But they could self-implode with these three. You never know what could happen. It could be something hilarious. And
Kyrie meets a stranger on the side of the road and decides to marry off with her. I wouldn't put
or
that
just
in.
retires.
Kyrie, he needs to.
Kyrie is the kind of guy that would retire mid-season when he's, how old was he? 31 maybe? 30? 29?
He's not too old.
He's not too old. 28 to 32. Nah, not even 32. Is he probably 27 to 30, something like that.
How old is Kyrie Irving?
28
28
years old.
Alright, so
he's plenty young.
He's the guy that could retire right now at 28 years old, and I wouldn't be surprised.
But he needs to. To me, not like because I don't like him, because his passion. You're 28 stinking years old. You're the healthiest you're probably ever going to be in your entire life at the age of 28, and he has zero passion for his profession. I mean, zero passion, zero dedication to any of the organizations. He's trash to the organization. They do better without him anyway. Like, he's a phenomenal scorer, no doubt about that. But you know what? Get off the stinking team. Go home with... is he married?
I don't think so.
Go home with your wife, your girlfriend, whoever the heck you want, and just go vacation, okay? Be done with the sport, because clearly you don't care about it anymore. And Kyrie, if you hear this, good. I want you to hear it, because you're not going to prove me wrong, okay? I mean...
Yeah, it does seem like basketball's not the top of his radar right now. And I'm like, you're a professional basketball player. That needs... You can absolutely do... I know he's involved with a lot of like activism stuff, and that's great. You can absolutely make a difference and play professional basketball. LeBron James opened a school. Okay? Right. You can do great things with your money. Honestly, Kyrie, if you focus on basketball, you're probably going to be able to do a lot more of like the, activism and charity kind of stuff that you like to do. And people like to see that.
Right.
You're going to get more fans and more support by, using your money for good things.
Because there is no doubt in my mind he has got he has a God-gifted talent of basketball.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. He can play the game of basketball.
One of the most talented in the league.
Like, literally, he really is. He played 10 games in college and was still the number 1 overall draft pick and has lived up to that, exceeding it by a substantial amount. He's got all the talent in the world, so use it.
It's the focus, man.
This is one of the reasons, like, the draft pick or the draft analysts were hesitant on Anthony Edwards because sometimes he's not focused.
Right.
Well, maybe that's.
I mean, he all but said, I'd rather actually be playing football, but being in the body I am, basketball's more gonna suit me for the best. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I don't know if you want to be saying that before the NBA draft. You're still gonna get drafted, but your position could take a hit. Yeah. And where you get drafted depends on how much you make.
And he is in the worst possible organization on the planet. Yes. All right, we're done with Kyrie. Let me bring up that. Should the NBA try to move Minnesota? Because let's face it, I've never seen a worse team in like maybe the Cleveland Browns, but they're at least starting to make progress.
Hey, they had a great year.
Right, they're making progress, but Minnesota seems to literally go nowhere. Like Kevin Garnett was their best years, and that was early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Do you try to move Minnesota?
If there is a team I'm going to move, it's going to be Minnesota. Yeah, but I don't know. It's hard. Like, is changing. I guess I don't know. Yeah. Move Minnesota. They've had their chance.
They've had talent.
I'm trying to justify because I do feel bad for like fans like when their team gets moved.
Right. I don't know if Minnesota has fans though. I don't know if anyone even lives in Minnesota.
Come on, Ted. There's some 8-year-old kid out there living in somewhere in Minnesota.
I was gonna say I don't know where anywhere in Minnesota is.
Somewhere in Minnesota, and they're freezing their butt off walking to school in June.
And there's little Carl Anthony Towns, big Carl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. Anyways, there's some little kid out there who's just a diehard Timberwolves fan, and you're gonna take his team.
Hey, he'll be grateful.
Yeah,
he'll be grateful.
He'll go over to he'll decide he likes the Milwaukee Bucks, the other team up there.
Right.
And
then his friends will make fun of him because he's a bandwagon. Yeah.
Anyways, no, I agree. I think probably a change of ownership, a change of location, a change of coach, a change of everything is needed because you're right. Like they haven't made the playoffs. Like, I guess they did a couple years ago, right? I think first round exit. But that was the first time since like 2005.
Right.
Like they're perpetually bad. They've actually had good draft picks. They had Kevin Love. They had they got Andrew Wiggins from Cleveland, Karl Anthony Towns,
who I honestly have not heard a lick about. Like I get that he tested positive for COVID, so he hasn't played the past few days.
But playing wise, nothing.
I haven't heard a lick about him, and he's 22 points, 12.5 rebounds, almost 4.5 assists. He puts up really good numbers. He just can't win.
Yeah, take him out of Minnesota.
Bring back Seattle.
I say either Seattle or I say Las Vegas, growing sports town.
I really don't know how they haven't had more professional sports.
I think for a long time the concern was like, are they going to be able to thrive in Vegas or behave in Vegas, or are they going to get into trouble?
I will say,
if you're in LA, New York, Chicago, Miami, you can get yourself into trouble if you go looking for in Utah. You can get yourself into trouble if you're looking for it. You do have a little bit more self-control in Vegas when you got millions of dollars.
Right.
But
I will say, if they do move to Vegas, they should try to sign a petition with the WNBA because the WNBA has a Vegas team. I don't know if you know.
That's true. Yeah.
And it is like the coolest name. Like when we talk about city names, like Utah Jazz means absolutely nothing to the actual physical state of Utah.
It's just a historic thing at this point.
Right. But like the Las Vegas Aces, that's like the perfect name for any sports club. So I think the NBA should try to rip that away from the WNBA because they're a band. They're wasting that really, really good name.
Because no one knows who they are.
No one knows. But Vegas, Seattle. I do think they should try to move. I know they've talked about bringing Seattle back, but I don't think they've really talked seriously about it.
If they have talked about, I'm sure the subject has been broached. Seattle's at the top of the radar.
I think they've talked about it, but I don't think right now with COVID it's not really a concern.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know, because I've heard due to basically like the revenue they've lost in the last year because of the pandemic, they need to make up.
Oh yeah.
They need to make up money.
Oh yeah.
And the way to do that is by expanding.
Right.
I mean, they could get another 2 teams. They could get a Western and an Eastern Conference team.
Right.
Or I guess there are quite a few teams in the East. They could put Memphis in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Or New Orleans in the Eastern Conference. Open franchises in Seattle and Las Vegas.
Right.
Boom, 2 more franchises. Two great markets for big sports teams. I would. Well, I guess that kind of goes away from the original topic of does Minnesota need to relocate? Yes, but you could still open up another team too.
Right. Right.
But yeah, Minnesota, terrible organization. Poor Anthony
Garbage.
Edwards. I mean, D'Angelo Russell is up there, and he was breaking out like nobody's business a couple years ago in Brooklyn, and bounced over to Golden State, bounced over to Minnesota.
Haven't heard anything about him.
Haven't heard anything about him since.
He's at the bottom of a bottomless pit.
Man, there were some good games yesterday.
Yes, and I wanted to talk about the game of the week, and that was the Warriors versus the Lakers.
Dude.
Because that was much anticipated Steph and LeBron reunion. And looked like Lakers had pretty control over that game. But you know the phrase, Steph got a Steph. And he Stepped. And they came back from 19 points down, and
Dude, the Lakers, they choked that one away.
It was great.
It was bad.
It was great. It was. I was happy to see Steph beat a legit team because they might be like 7-6, but to me they haven't really
had a marquee win.
Right, and that you can't get better than the number 1 team in the entire NBA.
I think they came back down from 19 too.
Yeah.
Actually, I know they did.
Yeah, I got a notification, but woo! Good for them, and Oubre even finally had a pretty decent game because Oubre might be the most disappointing player because I love Oubre. He's been garbage for Golden State, so he had a great game. Steph,
so bad.
He hit that amazing step back in the fourth quarter, put him up I think by 5.
With 1 minute left, yep.
Man,
well,
Steph.
the crazy thing is like Kelly Oubre forces a turnover.
Yeah.
Comes back after a timeout, gets a layup. I think to go up by 2, and then Steph comes down and hits that shot. Then a Schroeder miss. I think you got 1 of 2 at the line to bring it to 4. I can't remember exactly what happened. LeBron did get a good look from 3 with 1.5 seconds to, I think it would have been to tie it up. A little bit to the right, didn't make it. So yeah, that was a pretty good win for Golden State. That was like that proves to me like they can make the playoffs.
Right.
Not as high as I thought they were going to be, but they could make the playoffs.
Right.
Because Kelly Oubre actually played well, and when you get when your starters play decently, you got a chance in any game.
My boy Tyus Jones had a really good game last night for Memphis. He had a really nice clutch floater down the paint.
Had a good Ja closed very well.
So did Grayson Allen. Memphis is looking good.
Oh, I think
Grant's back.
I think it was Ja. Ja drew a charge on Chris Paul to get him the possession, and then I think that's when Grayson Allen hit a 3 to go up by 5 with like 30 seconds left.
That was a good game.
It was a good one. Good games yesterday. Yesterday was the first day that I was intrigued by multiple games. I'll be honest. Like, this NBA season just, I don't know, I'm not really like quite feeling it yet. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I'm just like, maybe it's because the NFL playoffs are on, and I've paid a lot of attention to football this year, more than basketball, which is a little bit unusual for me. I'm usually a fan of both, but yesterday was the first day that I was like glued to the screen.
That's good.
For the most, I think there's been other games that I've watched.
Right.
Yesterday was a really good day, so hopefully that kind of
your Miami Heat
gets
won.
me going a little bit. Miami Heat won.
So that brings up the conversation, and I think we might have talked about it maybe 2 weeks. If it was last week, you guys didn't hear about it. When did we talk about the shutdown? If they should shut down.
I think it was last week.
Okay, let's just go over that really fast again. Because your Miami Heat is struggling. There is multiple teams that are struggling.
The Wizards have had like 7 players test positive.
Yeah. So that brings a point. Should they, because let's face it, your Miami is better than 5-7. Okay. But they've gone multiple games without Jimmy Butler, without Tyler Herro.
I think they were out Bam for a little bit too.
So, and like my Celtics, they're out with Tatum, who got obliterated by the New York Knicks. That was, I'm like, okay, put that game away. But should the NBA just kind of cancel just 2 weeks, everyone get healthy again? Because I know it's early on in the season, but to me it is putting a damper on some teams' records.
I agree. I say no because, I mean, you can take a break for 2 weeks, but let's be honest. I mean, give it a couple more days, a couple more weeks.
Happen again.
It's going to happen again. So I say you just power through. You know, it's. I mean, we're in a pandemic. It's going to affect a lot of things, and you know, a team's basketball record isn't immune.
Right.
So I think you say, you know what? It's a COVID record. I think in a couple years when we look back and be like, really the I don't know, the Celtics or the Heat or whatever, they had a pretty good team, but their record doesn't look so good.
Right.
I think we'll be like, yeah, that was the pandemic year. You know what I'm saying? So I say you just power through. Postpone the games. You need to make them up at a later date. The teams that are healthy, you play them. If they don't have enough to fill out a roster, you postpone it.
Yeah.
I say we get through this season. We do the best that we can, and just I don't think stopping it for 2 weeks is really gonna help that much, but maybe.
Yeah.
I just say no because I want to just keep going.
Right.
Just keep on
right.
going. Just chug through.
Right. Because you could totally stop it again, wait 7 months, and
Exactly.
bubble again. No.
What do you think?
I was, about a week or so ago, I was where they should postpone for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, yeah, they probably will just happen again as soon as they start back up again. So yeah, I just kind of push through. Teams will hit bumps because there will be players.
It's gonna suck. There's gonna be some sucky stretches, like my Heat. The last.
The only
couple
team
weeks.
I can see who might benefit as of right now is the Utah Jazz because they've had both Donovan and Gobert test positive, and I don't know if you can get it again. So if you can't,
I think you can. I don't know though.
they won't be affected by, so they might as well seize that opportunity. But
Well, the Jazz are second in the West. I
third,
believe.
they're now third.
Oh, they're third.
They're third
Oh, damn.
because Clippers got
Did
their
they?
1 win ahead in the win.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
But,
third. Right on the heels of the Lakers and the Clippers.
Right.
The Jazz have actually, I think, 5 wins in a row.
Right.
I'm telling you, man, when the Utah starters are good, Bogdanovich, he's been a little bit banged up,
Right.
but I think he's kind of adjusting to his surgery. Jordan Clarkson's really
He's
looking
been doing
good
really
for
good.
the 6th man of the year prediction. I think 17 points off the bench. Yeah, the Jazz are looking good. They were struggling there for a minute. Once they got obliterated by the Nets. Kyrie Irving was sensational that game. They also choked a lead to the Knicks. I was like, ugh. And then they got a good win over Milwaukee, and
Yeah, that was a good
had
one.
some wins. So.
Nice little spank to Milwaukee.
Mhm.
My Boston's number 1 in the East too. So like teams are doing
Are they
good.
number 1?
They're number 1.
Oh, okay, that's right. They've been
So.
pretty good.
I think that's it for this week. Again, just say congratulations to Jake. That's awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be here next week.